Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Anshu ma'am.
Very good afternoon, ma'am.
We will start in just a few minutes. Let's wait for another 3-4 minutes. So exactly as at 3 we'll start.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Hope you're all doing fine.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
All good and hope the same for you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
It's almost 3. Welcome everyone once again.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
So thank you for joining and taking out time for our professional development webinars. The topic for today revolves around the flip that is happening in the education area. The last 2 years have seen so many flips, though not all positive ones. But today we would share one that will enhance the online mode of teaching learning. And for the same, we have Ms. Jasmine Narang with us. I welcome you, Jasmine.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
A small introduction about Jasmine to know her a little better. She is an experienced, enthusiastic member of a multicultural environment. Her experiences Her experiences in teaching and learning, student support and development has made her passionate about making meaningful connections into global communities through the understanding and respect of cultures, beliefs, and traditions. She currently resides in Dubai and works as a PYP teacher for an IB and British curriculum school. Initially, she was in India with the Pathway School for a very long time. She strongly believes in Carol Dweck's The Power of Yet and believes that the growth mindset is what we need to impart in the children. Encourage them to have the power to believe that they can achieve their goal if they are consistent. Also, as a modern day teacher, she uses ICT skills extensively and integrates them in her teaching processes. As an educator, she believes in integrated learning, providing real life and hands on experiences, and encourages the children to be lifelong learners. She herself is a keen learner and has learned to be an effective online teacher using flipped classroom strategy. So, we are here today, all of us, Ms. Jasmine, to learn from you. So, over to you. Just please enrich us with all your experiences. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anshu, for a very generous welcome. So, as she already said that, I enjoy using ICT skills and real life experiences. So that's what we're going to do in the workshop today. I'll try and speak minimum, and I'll let you guys experience what we are going to do in flipped classroom more. Obviously, there will be some talking, but then I see with a lot of good afternoons and has the workshop started, I can see that a lot of you are very participative, which is a very good thing and which is the kind of audience I am looking for today. So we would start, and I would like you all to participate. We would get some links on the screen as in when we go through the workshop. And then I would like you all to log in. I would show you how it progresses. So without further me talking, as I promised, we would start. Now I'm going to share the screen now. Okay, so as you all are already aware, we're going to talk about flipped classroom today, and I have been introduced. So we would be starting with something called a Menti Meter, and I would like you all to answer a few questions before we start. I would call it prior knowledge for me to understand how much we are already there in flipped classroom. So this is the link which would be put on the chat, and you can go to menti.com and use the code, or you can scan the QR code, which is right here. So you have a lot of options to choose from. So you could choose any one. I will give you a minute in case you're scanning the QR code, and then I will change the screen and go to the Menti Meter. Okay. Okay, so you would see a question on your screen. Before that, you will have to log in and put your name so that we know there are people already there before I start the question. We'll give it a minute.
So please use www.menti.com. Use the code written on the screen. You will have a few questions. You need to answer them, and the result is here. It's going to be there.
We're just waiting until I start the countdown. It won't start. We're just waiting for everybody to enter a minute. So it would just say for now, get ready to play, answer fast to get more points. So this is a way where we are encouraging the children to answer a little bit of, I wouldn't say too much competition, but a little bit of competition to get them excited, which always works. Okay,
I can see it working on the screen.
Yeah. So maybe 2 stars for the one who answers the first. Keep your fingers on the keypad. Okay, should we give it another minute? I can see some still joining, Miss Anshu.
Sure.
Okay, still joining.
Yeah, you could please start now.
Okay, so once I start the countdown, you will just have to quickly answer this question. It's a 45-second countdown. So it says, have you ever heard about flipped classroom before? A very simple question, just to understand how many of us have already heard about it or how many of us know about it. So in this particular question, when I did it, there is no right and wrong. And in education, frankly, I believe when the children answer, there is no right and wrong when you're teaching them.
Getting it on the Menti.
Sorry?
I'm getting the answer in the chat box. You are getting it on the Menti Meter.
Okay. Okay, I can't see the chat box. Okay. Oh, fantastic. So there is absolutely a great mix of yes and no. which is a very good thing because we'll have some very interesting insights, and we'll have people who will give even more interesting insights because they're understanding the process. We'll go on to another question, and that talks about what comes to your mind when you hear the word flipped classroom. So for the people who've not heard about it, just think about it. Like flipped classroom, how does it, when you hear the word, what clicks to your mind? What is the first thing that comes? Okay, we have some interesting reversing old methods, student teaching, active learning, browsing, enjoying, yes, of course, and turning around. Okay, technology for sure.
Hands-on experience. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
I'm just trying to, it's changing so fast.
New strategy.
Yeah, child-centered, yes, role reversal, yes, to an extent. I wish the kids could just start teaching. Innovation, yes, for sure. Inquiring, I love that word any which ways. Inquiry.
I have one saying suitable for all. Very
Oh,
impressive.
yes, I think it is. Learning while teaching, yes, that's something we do every day as teachers as well. So, okay, okay, we're still writing. Unique way of teaching. Okay, let's find out. Exchanging ideas, yes, it is. Turning around technology, reverse. So it's mostly, there are a lot of words. Yeah, I think we're done.
Yes.
So I think some of the words that we have, okay, we're not done.
It won't be. We have
I know, we'll just give it a
approximately
minute and then we'll go ahead.
500 participants.
Sorry.
We have 500 participants right now live. So
Okay. So flipping the way of learning, but it's great to see so many words coming up, and it's great to see you all participating so well. Thank you, everybody, and please keep participating like this because we want to make this webinar as interactive as possible. Empowering learners, okay. Student becomes the teacher. We can surely work on that because that comes in the process once. It does. Hands-on experience. Okay, that's great. I think we all of us have a lot of thoughts around this. Let's go ahead and explore these thoughts more. And you know what? You can keep it open as in when we go on to the workshop, you can keep adding more words. Maybe your ideas change from what we've already seen here to what it is once the workshop finishes or once we're in the process of the workshop. Okay, I'm going to go back. So somebody said in the workshop in the Menti Meter traditional method. So changing the traditional method, and that is absolutely true. I wouldn't say so. The word people generally say traditional, but I wouldn't say traditional because we are still following it. It's like a method that we are doing, and we would somewhere continue to do it. So, but the teacher teaches the content in a normal way method, and the student works on the problems. That's what we've been doing. Like we would spend a lot of time teaching in the class, and by the time it's time for doing our problem or doing some engagements, half of the time just goes away. In starting to explain the child, okay, you know what, this is what you have to do. And by the time you're like, oh, lesson is finished. And then you have to continue the next day. And then you have to make a connection with what you've already done before. That takes up a lot of time. But when we come to a flipped classroom, we say that the content is studied at home by the student, and then the student works on the problem with the teacher. So this is a general overview of a flipped classroom is. To give you a better understanding, I would like you all to see this video. Okay, Miss Anshu, please tell me if you can hear the sound.
yeah, I'll surely tell.
Can you hear the sound?
No, not yet.
Just give me 1 second. Okay.
I'm Aaron Sams. We're here in Woodland Park, Colorado at Woodland Park High School. Flipped learning, I think, on a really basic level is taking what has traditionally been given in a lecture in terms of direct instruction and shifting that out of the class time, and then using that recuperated time more wisely, more valuably to really meet the individual learning needs of students. The way I got started doing this is I just started recording my lessons live for my students who were missing class and posting those online for them as a resource. They get to access it when they want to, and that could be at 10 o'clock at night, it could be 6 o'clock in the morning, it could be on the bus to the soccer game. They have control of that. Students would watch those before they came to class, and then class time was work time, engaging in some higher order thinking, and so we didn't have to use our class time for direct instruction. We could shift that out of the class.
There's a site where we go to and we watch our podcast, and it has like all the units.
And during the class period, we're doing labs and applying the skills that we learned at home.
I wish more people would do the flipped classroom. I think it definitely works for every speed of learner.
If a student is a fast learner, they can go through the material as quickly as they want. The slower learners, the students who struggle, they have control of the rate at which they learn the material. So they can pause the teacher, they can rewind the teacher, they can view it multiple times if they need to. If everyone's not doing the same thing at the same time on the same day, my class looks a little chaotic. It looks like a three-ring circus of learning is what I call it. I also give them the option, if they don't want to take my test, to demonstrate their understanding in some other way. So I have students making video games, writing comic books, creating art projects. So yeah, the sky's the limit. Whatever they want to do, as long as they can prove to me that they get it, that they're learning, that they understand these things, then it's good enough for me. There's a school in Michigan that has adopted this instructional model for all of their core classes. What they're seeing there is that their failure rates have gone from like in the 40% down to single digits. So that's pretty remarkable there. One of the concerns that educators are really wrestling with these days is the fact that we are preparing our students for jobs that don't exist yet. And I really see flipped learning as a tool that teachers can leverage to help students learn to think, learn to access information when they need it, and to be able to process it in a meaningful way. So I might not be training my kids for a specific job, but I'm giving them the tools, the ability to think and the process and the problem solve that they will need for whatever they end up doing.
So this guy, Aaron Sams, is the pioneer of flipped classroom along with John Berkman. So he's spoken about a lot of advantages that flipped classroom gives us. It talks about how we can get children to work at any pace, how even at night, if the child is comfortable. So we're all different kind of learners. We all prefer to study at different times. So it gives children a freedom, a choice, a voice to study at any time they want to. And obviously, it's the teacher's job to make it as interactive as possible for the child. So it is engaging and the child understands the best. But through this, we can cater to all the children learning in all paces. Even if it's a child who needs to learn slowly at a different pace, the child can watch the video like about 10 times. But is that possible in the class? I'm not sure if we can do that in the classroom setup. Like when we are teaching, like if I am giving you a lecture right now, like if I'm talking about flipped classroom and you're all listening to me, I don't know how much would you register. I have no idea at all. I would only understand when I am doing actively an engagement with you all or actively an engagement with my students. So that's a very important thing when we come to a flipped classroom, because the content, obviously we would be recapping it in the class. The ways that we would use, but ultimately the more and more time goes in getting the child to understand what is happening, getting the child to get familiar with the concepts and work on it more, like learning by doing. That's what we are going to do. Instead of me just talking about it, or instead of the teacher just talking about it, we are doing. Okay. So what happens in a flipped classroom? What is the process? The process is a continuous process, as I call it. Before the class, during the class, and even it goes on after the class. It doesn't stop. That's the main idea, and that's the main advantage of a flipped classroom. We would get the child used to the material, used to the concept by watching the videos, doing engagements even at home by doing a little summary, by writing down what the child has understood. And then coming to the class, it could be anything. It could be digital, it could be a book, whatever material they have. It just has to be that. And then during the class, the very important term is one-to-one teacher interaction. The child would have the teacher to himself or herself. Because when you've already spoken about the concept at home, and when they've already learned it, and when we come back to the class, they would be focusing on what to do next. And you would be focusing on how they are doing it, not just talking about it. And then after the class, it could be a project-based learning. It could be a higher order application. It could be an evaluation or assessment. The child can use the same material which was given before the class, go back home after the class and look at it with a different mindset, because now the engagement's been done. Now they've got the grasp of the concept better. So it's a continuous process that could continue. Also, how does it work in terms of Bloom's taxonomy? Earlier, again, traditional classroom model is remembering, understanding, and applying in the classroom. So we are remembering it, we are understanding it, and we are spending so much time doing it that practically half an hour or 40 minutes just go into that. Even for an instance, we spend so much time in a class reading a chapter. I remember when I was young and I was in a school, we used to read a chapter from the book that the teacher would tell me, okay, get up, can you read one paragraph? Can you read one paragraph? And we would waste the entire lesson just reading about it. Why do we need to do that? Probably I'll go home, read it. I will come back and I would be told, why don't you find nouns and adjectives from the chapter? Or why can you tell me if there are any adverbs used? Can you change this sentence and add an adjective to it? So I could do so much with that particular chapter in the classroom than just reading it. The child will have to reread the chapter, but they have a knowledge of that chapter already. So I wouldn't have to go from the start to doing it. So I could just use different strategies to get them engaged. In a flipped classroom model, and so the traditional model says you are creating at home. I don't know if you remember the times when you used to get these projects to do at home and our parents would be sitting with us and helping us and practically doing it for us. But that doesn't have to happen anymore in case of flipped classroom, because what we are telling them to do is, okay, go home, do this concept. And in the classroom, let's do this. Let's make the project. So for an example, we did this. So I gave my children to work on, we were doing a unit on materials. So we told the children, okay, go read about the materials. That's the matter that you have to work on. Come back to the class. So the project was that they had to create a house with the roof where the water doesn't go in from any side. So now, because they read about the properties of the material in the classroom, they can decide what material they can experiment. And as a teacher, I can sit there and I can make my notes and I can see and I can speak to the children about how I can question them about how they have to think critically. See, the questioning part is very important for a teacher in the classroom. So say, for an instance, the child is putting a cardboard on the top and we have to do the water test. So I would speak to the child and I would be like, do you think that the cardboard would hold the water? The child, in a normal instance, the child would say yes, because cardboard is thick. So what will happen if there is more water? What will happen if there is more rain? Can you try doing it? So the child at home, the child wouldn't have even thought. Probably the mother would tell, or probably the child would think, okay, you know what, I'll put cardboard and I'll take it to school. Can you change the child's thought process when the child has already created something and is in the school? I mean, can you say that, tell the child that, oh my God, this is not right, you have to work more on it? You cannot. But when the child is doing the process, then you can. Then you can question and let them change their thinking themselves. And we're not changing their final product. We're changing their thinking to get to the final product in the right way. So that's where I would say flipped classroom work wonders, because we're doing it in the class with them. And that's not just one child. We can go on around different children. In a normal flipped classroom model, I would always have a notebook in my hand and a pen in my hand, writing down my notes about what the child is doing, observing what the child is doing, and again, questioning and how they change their thinking. So I know my child very well in a classroom. So that's how Bloom's taxonomy is flipped in this. Okay, so now again, we've spoken about a lot of things that flip enables a teacher to do. I've just put it in words here. This is not in the order, but this is what it enables me to do. It enables a teacher, and it will enable all of us to do. Differentiation, a very important thing that we struggle with. As a teacher, I struggle with it till date. How do I get differentiation in my class? How do I know if a child already knows this and can go to a higher level? Through flipped classroom, you could do that. Eventually we would see tools, and we would see how the children, you can assess the children even before they come to the class. You will see how you can focus on having your class on that assessment and adding differentiation to it, adding more questions and deciding which child should get what. So that makes your preparation easy. You don't have to do it on the spot. So the best part is we can work in one-to-one with the children. Suppose if I know one of the groups can do this. Okay, so this is your task, you work on this, and I'm going to go and I work with a different group which needs my attention. So I would sit down and I would work with them. I would probably start with a hands-on activity, and I would say, start from the basic step, because obviously the pace of the children is different, but our pace in the class also has to be different. That's why differentiation, and that's why it is important for us to make our class more engaging. Obviously, we're catering to mixed abilities, we're catering to individual groups, small groups, one-on-one. It is all interlinked. Differentiation, if we are doing differentiation, we're absolutely providing the student support. We are challenging them. The minute the mixed ability word comes, we automatically know, okay, I have to sit with this group will do the engagement, and this group will do a challenging task. I would always have cards with me. I would always have these cards with me, wherein if my child has finished the task, I would let them pick up a card with higher order thinking, and they would do that. So review and remediation again, so this is where we speak to the children about reviewing the card system that I told you. It's about reviewing what they've done, and I would sit with the children. They need more attention, so they are all overlapping. The class environment, that's what I said in the last slide, it has to be extremely engaging. My children, even if they are not working, they might be in a corner with some material that is engaging for them, that is educational but fun. So the classroom space is such that we don't force them to work at a pace that they don't want to, but on the other hand, they are still working. Like, because I've been giving an example of materials, I would continue with that. How would I make my classroom engaging in terms of the unit materials? So I would have different corners in my class where I would give them different materials, and they could create something, whatever they want to. My idea is for them to explore materials while they're doing a task in the class. They can go and do that once they've finished. We will always have children who finish early. So it's very important that our classroom environment is interactive, it's engaging. We live in a world of so much technology. We could have QR codes around the class of stories. The child could just, if you have systems, the child could just go scan the QR code and listen to something educational about that topic. So we could create a classroom as engaging as we have to. Okay, so this is one of the tools. It's called Neopod, and I'm going to show you a video in this. But before that, we would be putting the link for this. And I would like to show you how it looks, because as teachers, we need to know. So when the link has been put on the chat, and when you open it, I'm sorry. So you will be asked your name. And when you have been asked your name, here's where, as a teacher, you can see that whether the child has logged in or not. So
Jasmine, I would request you to please, if you could put the link.
Yeah.
Copy it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, hold on. Yeah, so the link is there. So when you open, you'll get a page like this where your name will be asked. 1 second, let's see. Yeah, like a page like this where you'll have to enter your name. So once you enter your name, I will get it here.
Once more, you'll have to send the link, maybe
Okay, I will do that now.
in the chat box, if you could send it.
Yes, I will. Oh, sorry, it's just going to one person. I'll just send it to everyone. Sorry, I can see everybody saying no link.
Yeah, it's there now. Thank you.
Yeah, I can see. Can you, so if you just change your screen, you'll be able to see, I can see Neetu has already joined in. So here I would, so if you give this tool for the children at home, so you would exactly know before you even come into the lesson who have already gone through the assignment or who has already gone through the video that you want to show. So we'll just give it like a minute and then I'll go ahead. And okay, the ones who've already joined in, they can go on to answering the first question, which I want you all to answer. What is your understanding of flipped classroom so far? So this is just, it's just like a mid-plenary. That's what I would call it, to assess your understanding in between the session. So here we can see what all you want to tell us, what you all have understood. It's your choice. If you want the student's name to be there, they would come. If you do not want them, they would go away. And there is even an option in this wherein if you want to first read the reply and then approve it, because obviously the children could write something, maybe something inappropriate, I'm not sure, but you can do that as well. You have an option. Right now I've chosen the option, anybody can reply. I don't have to approve any post. Okay, that's interesting. It's a wonderful tool, hands-off learning. It opens so many opportunities for the students. It's a more interesting way of learning. So it's an assessment for the teacher as well, that yes, I'm on the right track.
So all those people who are not able to join the Neopod can put their responses in the chat box.
Yes. So I was talking about mid-plenary. It kind of tells the teacher how much the child has understood, and I can change my lesson as per that. So again, it's not only the assessment of the child that we need to focus on, it's the assessment of ourselves also, our teaching also, that needs to be focused on. Okay, so we've got quite a few replies, and I see I have some interesting replies from what we had done in the Menti Meter. So it's interactive, it opens opportunities, it's creativity, innovative, collective learning, and it's interesting and it's a wonderful tool. Okay, thank you. Okay,
from
now
the chat box also, Jasmine.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
It talks about now student-centered learning. It talks about children getting engrossed in the learning, children taking lead under the supervision of the teacher. So they have very, very interesting, responses.
Yes. So it's assessment. I think it's an assessment for us that we're going on the right track. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. This is a video about John Bergman, and let's see what he's talking about. It's something really important and interesting. I would like you all to listen to it.
Hi, my name is John Bergman. I'm one of the pioneers of the flipped classroom movement. There's a lot of misunderstanding about the flipped classroom. A lot of people, when they hear about the flipped classroom, they say, oh, that's just homework on videos and then worksheets in class. And though that could be it, the reality is it's about the best use of your face-to-face class time. Let me tell you a story. I was presenting on the flipped classroom to a group of educators, and these 3 teachers came up to me afterwards and they said, John, we're in, we want to flip our class. And I said, cool, so tell me, what do you guys do? And they said, we're the PE department. I looked at them and I said, what? The PE department? And they told me this story. They said, when you ask that question, what's the best use of your face-to-face class time? They told me, we want our students to move their bodies. And then they said this, we spend far too much time telling our students how to move their bodies. So they make these short videos so that they can maximize class time. You see, the key to the flipped classroom is maximizing the face-to-face class time. For 24 years, I was a high school science teacher. And in my science class, I was frustrated with not having enough time for my kids to do hands-on activities and also for them to get help on, I'll call it the hard stuff. You see, because what I was doing is I would send them home to do homework and they'd get stuck and they wouldn't have any help because their parents couldn't help, say, on high school chemistry. And so when they went home, they couldn't do it. So of course, when we flipped the class, there was a lot more time for me, the expert, to help the student with their class. So for me, the way I answered that question as a high school chemistry teacher was I wanted my students to do more experiments and also to get help on the more difficult concepts. But then my PE teacher friends, they had a different answer to that question. What's the best use of your face-to-face class time? So I want to really encourage you to answer that question for yourself. What is the best use of your face-to-face class?
Okay, so here where we stop the video and you'll have a question on your screen saying what is the best use of your time with the students? So I would like you all to answer this question. What is the best use? So in this tool, you can stop the video in the middle and get the children to answer the questions. So this is where you can assess them, that how much have they understood the video? How much are they understanding actually? Whether they are just watching without even thinking or whether they are listening to is actually listening to it. So I would like you all to answer, what do you think is the best use of your time with the students? So here as a teacher, I can see that right now you are still answering or you haven't answered because I haven't got any answers yet. So once I get the answers, I can see it on my screen. And as a student, you know what you're seeing. Okay, probably we'll give it 10 more seconds if I get some answers. Otherwise, we'll go ahead.
Though I'm getting a lot on my chat box.
Okay, so you can probably just say it.
Clear doubts in the class, making it more interactive, appreciating discussion, practically involving them, engaging, integrated learning, active listening.
Okay.
Nice.
Yes. Being able to, I can see being able to interact. Oh, it's going very fast. Yeah. Understanding and responding, hands-on activities, daily life discussions and problem solving. Appreciating the kids, very important. Yes. Feedback. Really, we need to work on our feedbacks. Absolutely. Creating curiosity among them. Yes. Okay. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and watch the video now to understand what exactly he wants to tell us.
Face class time. And as you answer that, I think you're going to come to the conclusion that it's not you standing up in front of your students and yakking at them, doing the lecture thing, because you can move the direct instruction piece, if you will, the lecture, into the individual space where the students can watch them and consume them at the pace that makes sense to them. Haven't you all sat in a lecture room or a class and the teacher is going on and on and maybe even on, and maybe you're processing it, but then all of a sudden you look up and you go, you're trying to take notes and you look up and you're lost. What are you going to do now? You see, the nice thing about content on video is, of course, is that there's a pause and a rewind button, because if you get lost, well, then you can go back and rewind. This was especially poignant for me when I was teaching at the flipped classroom, and my daughter, Katie, she was in my class, taking my class, the flipped classroom, and she was watching a video at home of me teaching, which, by the way, is weird. But she was watching a video of me, and then she paused the video and she turned to me and she said, "Dad, I love the flipped classroom." And I said, "How come?" She says, "Because I get to pause you." which was kind of, it's like, wait, no, actually it was good, and she was saying it nicely, but I think it was funny that she gets to pause her dad. She wanted to pause and rewind her dad because she needed help. Now, I would give you a couple pieces of advice too, to those of you who are considering flipping your class. It's very important, maybe the biggest mistake, let me pause. Maybe the biggest mistake I see teachers make is they don't teach their students how to watch the videos. They just say, well, I'm going to say, hey, watch this video and then come to class. No, you must teach them how to watch the video. What do I mean by that?
So what does he mean by that? What do you mean by watching a video? Like, what do I have to do? I can probably watch a cartoon and I know how to watch a video. I watch Netflix the whole day. I know how to watch a video. But what do we mean by when we want them to go home and watch a video? So what do you think it is? You can send your answers here or on the chat box. And we'll read a few.
Maybe they'll have to log in, like to Neopod if the
So
participants.
if they've already logged in,
Yeah.
then they can answer the questions like they answered the earlier ones.
Okay. So let's wait for a few minutes.
Yeah, so listening carefully, it says to focus on the content. Leave the kids at a curious point, understand better. So how, understanding the concept by stopping it. Absolutely, that's a very important thing. That's what exactly we are doing here. We are stopping the video. Now, if there is a question and the child knows he or she has to answer, if they are not listening, they can go back and listen to it again. So what are the choices? The choices are not you have to listen or you don't have to listen. The choices are you have to listen and you have to listen. So that's like the only choice they have now, because they're answerable to you in the class why they have not done it. I mean, it would be a very good thing, like when you're discussing what the concept before starting an engagement, you can show them the answers. You can display it. It is, so how do we encourage the children to learn is also giving them a sense of pride. That, appreciating, somebody said that. So that's what you have to use. You could show these answers that, see, you've all done a great job. Look at this. This is fantastic. You answered it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and finish the video real quick.
Well, students know how to watch Spider-Man. That doesn't mean they know how to watch an instructional video on, say, math or PE or whatever it might be. Take some time to teach them how to interact with the video. So for me as a high school teacher, I spent a week teaching my students how to watch the videos. The first day we watched it on the big screen, the next day on devices. I essentially was teaching them how to take notes. I was in a 6th grade class recently in Fort Worth, Texas area, and I had a chance to talk with this teacher. And as we were talking about how he set his students up to prepare, he spent 3 weeks teaching his kids how to watch videos. I had little guys, I had bigger guys. I think it makes sense. So make sure that you take time to teach your students how to watch instructional video content. Otherwise, they're going to go home and they may watch it, but that doesn't mean they're going to actually get things out of it. And the second thing I would say about the video content, make sure that you build in some interactivity. Pause, write questions, take notes. There's lots of ways to build in interactivity, but if you don't build in the interactivity, then it won't work.
So again, in a traditional setup, I would probably give the video and say, okay, watch it and come back to school. But that's not going to help the children. You will just be struggling with the fact, did you watch it? Did you watch it? The common thing, miss, I did not understand. Then probably you're wasting that time again to show them the video in class and explaining it to them. So it's like a vicious circle. If we do not do the first step right, all the steps do not fall in place. So spend some time for anything. It's just not a video. This just gives an example of a video. But even if I'm using this app or for any other app, I'm using it. If I don't teach them extensively how to use it with me, they wouldn't learn it. They would just not take it seriously because they don't know. They're confused. What if the parents are not at home to help? So we are totally making the children self-dependent. We're not depending on anybody else other than us. So that's very important. Okay, so I have another quick question. Just 2 words. The question says, okay, think of a concept you have to teach. What will you give as home learning and what do you think you will do in the class? That's just a reflection of what, again, this is like a mid-reflection of what we've already done. We've been talking about engagements, videos, what the child does at home, what the child does in school, how we use differentiation. We've been talking about so many things. Just quick 2 words. What do you think you will give them as home learning, and what do you think you will do in class? And just write the name of the topic, class, home, whatever. What do you think you will do? So somebody said research on the topic to be introduced, or an introductory activity can be told. Yeah, pre-reading we've spoken about as home learning. Yes, I think if we have some answers here. Practical sessions in school, yes. What topic do you think? Like, what kind of examples would you do? Preschool experiential, that's very important. Like, preschool could also work. You could give them a number rhyme, you could give them a sound rhyme to do at home. And then in class, you could do the live example. So the child is not new to that sound. So how we are catering to all age groups? Because we learn by listening, we learn by looking. So the video part that we show in the class, the singing part that we do can be done at home, and they could just listen to it like 5 times. And they come to the class and we are just doing hands-on. They already have seen the letter a, it's the sound a. They've seen it, they know what it is. They're not like, we've not come to the class and we're like, we don't even know what a is. Yeah, they know it, they've heard it. Now we need to work on it. Yes, active nature drawing. Yeah, they could go around a nature walk and do that at home. Like, often in a unit on plants, I would go on for a nature walk, and then they would observe what they see. I could do that at home, and I can just talk about what they've observed. We could have a discussion on the observations and come to a common point and start my lesson from there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. We're going to take the questions in the end. And so we've seen the video on the Neopod, and it worked really well by stopping the video, and we now know how to show them a video and how to use the app. We work with them for 2-3 days or a week or whatever time we need to. Again, somebody's pace might be more and somebody might be less. So we have to give them time according to that. Now, what do the students do before the class? This is where now I'm making a connection to what we've already seen. They watch a video, they take notes. Now it's my job to make it interactive. It's the teacher's job. It's our job to make it interactive. I would say make sure they have to rewind and rewatch. That's why the questions, you have to make sure, because once it's not enough to just watch it. So we want them to rewind. We want them to watch it again and again. We want to force them to take notes the way we did it just now. Then we summarize. So this is where we come back to the class. I said, display the screen of what you had already given. So you're not preparing anything special for summarizing the lesson. So this is what the summarizing they would do, which you did by answering the questions. So that's summarizing the lesson they are doing. At every step, we are summarizing the lesson. I said mid-plenary, that's a kind of a summarization. And prepare questions about what doubts do they have and what are the things they're not understanding. Not everybody would understand everything. So that's where our job comes. What do we do in the class? We review, talk about the important parts of the lesson. Obviously, we will review. And in the review, you can just display whatever you've given to them to do at home. You could just quickly talk about it. And the review can also work when you are doing the engagement with the child, because the review is not only just speaking. Reviewing is also when you're working with them. Ask questions and discuss. Obviously, you have to give the child an opportunity to ask as many questions as they have, as many doubts. And again, that doesn't have to be me, the teacher standing in the front and the child asking. It could also be a one-to-one session when you go to the child and talk about what the child is doing and what is it that they've not understood. So it gives you a more one-to-one time. It gives you a more interaction with the children, more time for interaction. Again, we work on the practice problem that we've been talking about since the beginning. Assessment. Now, I would say this assessment is not only the child's assessment, it's my assessment as well. So it's assessment for the child and for the teacher. A teacher's assessment is by looking at the child, how much the child has understood. If the child has understood, your flipped classroom is a success. What you give them as work at home is absolutely a success, and you are going the right path. If the child has not understood, we have to identify the loopholes. Where can we put more effort? And how can I help the child in the class? So, and it also forms the basis for my next class. Now I know where where the kids stand, and I could take it to the next class. Also, what I would generally do in my for working in home as well, I would put some challenge questions for the child. Can you think? Can you think about this topic more? Or a challenge question just like that, whatever the child could answer. So this would let them to question more. So you have to think of ways to get them to question more. Again, plan the next lesson based on the assessment. Now I would like you all to give it a minute and read these points and tell me if the change is needed, if we want to change, if why the change has happened is true. Does flipped classroom speaks the language of today's child? Does it help keep the students busy? Will it address all learning styles? Because you've seen so much now. Will it allow the children to go back and forth in a video? Will it increase? Just think about it. I just say close your eyes and think about it, how your class would look now. Will it increase your interaction with the children? Do you think it makes sense? Will it allow you to know your students better than what you already know? Even if it is a class of 30 or 40, I know we always think, I have so many students, how I'm gonna do it. That's like a common challenge in our mind. But if you're walking around the class any which ways for the whole of 40 minutes, will you not be able to know your child? It is only a challenge when I'm standing at one place and I'm just talking to them. Yes, absolutely not. I can't do it. I am like not a superhero. I wouldn't know them. But if I'm not doing that part, and if I'm just walking around the class and talking to them and looking at what they're doing, I am sure I'll be able to understand who they are. If not in one class, but eventually, I would know that this child absolutely knows what he's doing or she's doing. And obviously, when they're watching the videos, the parents at home, if they're helping, they can understand better. The major complaint of parents, what are they doing in school? You'll save so much time on your PTMs because they exactly know what are they doing in school. That's it. You have the material at home. Do it if you want to. Like, there are enthusiastic parents who want to do it. Absolutely, do it if you want to. You have it all. And also their siblings can benefit from it. Teachers can spend more time connecting and making the class engaging. Do you think it all makes sense? I absolutely think it does. Okay, so real quick, going on to the main part, I would say this is the main part. Once we finish this, the tools that we are going to use. To end my talking, I think students are thinking, writing, interacting, researching, reading, listening, speaking. They're doing everything every day. Because there's thinking happening at home. There is some writing, whether on the computer or on a note copybook, happening at home. In school, because they're doing the engagement, we are interacting. Again, the teacher interaction becomes more. They are researching. It could be that they want to research about something that they don't understand. They could focus on that. They are reading the instructions. They are reading what you've written, the questions. So they are comprehending every minute. Of course, they are listening and they're speaking in class, because now they even have questions they want to be addressed. In a normal scenario, a child who's not a quick learner might not have any question, because in school he or she can't comprehend so fast, but at home they can comprehend and come up with questions. But a very important thing, you have to make the class environment so open that they can ask questions, that they're not afraid of to ask questions. So this will all lead to, this is all dependent on each other, and it will lead to that. Going ahead, we're going to go on the resources. So resources we can use, the common ones are YouTube. We can have TED Talks for kids. We could have recorded videos. And then the ones that we could create, we could have Microsoft Forms. So I'm not sure if all of us have used it before, but you could, on Microsoft, you could create a quiz or you could create a form for the children to answer. So I keep on creating for my children all the time. So maybe I could just like, I would want to, like we do mental maths every day. So probably if I open one, we could have a mental math here and they could get it instantly, the answers that the score basically in this. If I give them a passage to read, I could create, if we were doing a novel study, so we did Mr. Popper's Penguin, it is a novel study, and I said, okay, can you answer these questions for me? Let's see how much you've already understood. These are a few examples of the quiz or of the forms. Neopod, we've already seen, but just in case, we did, like I was telling you, we did something on materials, and that I wanted them to read and understand what are the different materials already there. So we focused on a material called glass. So I would tell them what the learning objective is, what they think they're learning. Okay, now you have to think. And then you answer a question. That's prior knowledge for me to understand what the child already knew. And then I can put in videos to watch. I could say, okay, I could have articles for them to read, how glass is made, and I could do their infinite possibilities. So I could open the web page and give them a Kiddle link to see. Try not to use Google because that's for adults. And we could use Kiddle, which is for kids. So that's another thing that we could do then. Okay, so we're going to come to Seesaw. That's an app where I'm going to go a little slow here. So this is an app wherein I can assign tasks to the children. So I had already assigned a task to Miss Anshu. So how does it go about? So I have this button here, add. This is the teacher's page where I can see what all activities I have given to the child. And when I open one, like I can open here this responses, and I can see whether the child has responded or not. So this is what Miss Anshu has already responded. And I had given a comment to her saying, okay, well done. And I had asked a question. So she answered that question and I can approve it here. So this is approved. And I would let Miss Anshu share the screen and show you all how she would answer this, how a child would answer this particular activity. I'm gonna let my screen go, Miss Anshu.
Sure. I'll share mine. So this is the student's screen where I have this worksheet. So this is actually an activity. As a student, I'm a student, I signed in. Yeah.
Miss Anshu, I've assigned you again, just check.
Okay.
Yeah.
Into the activities?
Yes. So when you go into the activities, you can see what has been assigned to you. Just refresh the page.
Yes. So this
Yeah,
activity is there.
waiting for response. So you got to go and add response. And it will give you a page to edit the page. Like you can do anything with it. Again, however you want to add. Even in questions like write an article that you saw, you could add a text box and answer the question.
Yes. Or I can just choose up a color and I can look out for the words here. So if I have brown, I just find this word, circle it, and I'm going to cross it out from here. Right? And then I'll have to search for another one. Do we have mouth? Yes, I can see mouth. I find this word here and cross it out. And once I'm done, I submit. So this is the submit button, the green one. Right?
Yes.
And my response goes to the teacher and she's able to see.
Yeah, so once she stops the share screen, I will show you what I can see and how I can actually tell the child whether you've done it correctly or not. Or even...
And stop share.
Thank you. Just give me a second. Perfect. So I've already assigned. I'll go back to the class and can you see here, one waiting for approval. So I have the answer. So it says review. So it's my job to review it now. So I can say, oops, you missed out. She's not completed it. So oops, you missed out some words. Can you try again? So you could give an interactive feedback and say, okay. So every time a child does it, you could even actually, there's an option sometime, I think it's in the paid one, where you could also record your voice and you could tell the children if they are of lower primary. So they can't read. You could just record your voice. You can say, oh, this wasn't correct. Can you try it this way? And they will record it and send their voice back. But again, that practice of playing with the messages also has to be introduced to the child. If you don't introduce, they wouldn't bother. They wouldn't even bother reading your feedback, which is very important. We're living in a world of feed forward, that we have to give the children a feedback that takes them forward. So we have to teach them. And going ahead, so these all apps will take you time to understand. You would have to go through them. You would have to experiment, explore. Then I do something with my children, quizzes. This is like a thing. So Dubai, the first week of the day is Sunday. So we do it every Sunday morning. Eventually, we have started doing every alternate day. So if I do like nouns with them or adjectives with them, the next day I'll go in the morning, I'll be like, okay, let's do a quizzes with them. They started coming up with their own examples that they wanted to do. So I would like everybody to participate in this, but before we do, I would just show you the last resource so that we don't disconnect. And then the last one would be a feedback for this session that I would like you all to give on Padlet. I would send the link for that as well, but I just wanted to show before we go into the quizzes. So this quizzes, I would show you how it looks. So it's a quiz on our understanding of flipped classroom. So this could also be a resource after they go home. How we said the learning is continuous. This could be something that you could give them after they've gone home. Now, where I say I'm going to do higher order questions, I would give them challenging questions, but then they would need your support in this. Yes, actually, because it's more of a classroom thing, because they would need you to do it. How? You say start a live quiz, instructor paste. Okay, for some reason it didn't get logged in. Sorry. Okay. So there are 9 questions to it. We're going to do real quick if we can cater to all. So this is how it says. Join my quiz or share via. So I'm going to copy the link and I'm going to send it here. If even few of us join, it'll be great so that we could start the quiz and play it. I can show you a few examples. Yes, kids can see their score also. You're right. So that's the best part in this quiz, that the kids can see their score. I would say it's some competition, some fun, because they would want to see who's on the top and they would want to really read fast and answer questions. So it's a lot of, and nobody can help them. Because by the time somebody really helps them, it would be fun. After a point of time, they get so used to it that you don't need to even say anything. I think it's like something really fun. Okay, so we have already 83 people. I'll just start the quiz. Yeah? Ms.
Yes,
Latricia,
please go ahead.
I'm sorry, once we start, I think we can't join because I've never tried with after starting. Okay, so when you start the quiz, this is how it goes on. It will say the first question, what is the difference between the traditional classroom and a flipped classroom? So when you answer, I can see whoever's answered, like they would start to get highlighted. And you have a particular time frame here that you can answer it. If you don't want to, you can just end the question. I can end it sooner. So the people who answered the first will be right on the top. Okay. So this is the leaderboard. It shows who's been answering the fastest. 1 second, sorry. So we have 74 correct answers, 2 people who've not answered correctly, but you can see the report right in the end, that who were correct, who had done it correctly, and who've not done it correctly. So we'll just quickly do 2-3 questions, and I'm gonna skip to the end part. Sorry. So it says, what is the disadvantage of flipped classroom? What do you think can go wrong? From here, I can see the full question view. Is it the teachers need to prepare more? Students can have fun. Students are able to work at their own pace, or it creates student-centered environment. What is it that I think makes no sense? So I'm going to end the question now. So let's see who's still at the top. Me. Okay. So see, it changes. It tells you who's at the top. And this is the right answer that we've got. That teachers need to do. It's our work. That's the disadvantage. We'll do just one more. What is the difference between a traditional classroom and flipped classroom? Is it student listen to lectures, student watch and listen to lectures before coming, the homework is assigned, or the instructor prepares the material? Okay. We're going to go to the leaderboard. And I'm going to go to the next question. Okay. This is one more. Students exposed to knowledge during, after, alongside, or before the class. Generally, during this time, that kids are screaming that I did it first, or I know the right answer, he's not answered yet. So there'll be a lot of interaction happening there. Okay, let's do 10 seconds and let's finish the quiz so that you know what to expect in the end. So I'm going to just do a 10-second quick round. Every question has 10 seconds. In a flipped classroom, the typical lecture and homework elements are reversed. Is that true or false? Okay, you guys have 4 more seconds. You have to be really quick. Fastest finger first. We all know what I'm talking about. Okay. Yes, I'm going to end the question. So I'm going to go a little quick. I'm not going to show the leaderboard. I'm going to show it right in the end. Class time is devoted to exercises, projects, or discussions. Again, does that work? True or false? Let's give it. Okay, so this is how in the end you would be able to see a result that who is on the top and who has answered how many questions right and who's answered how many questions wrong. I'm going to stop it right here so that we can go on to the last part, which is Padlet. So I would let you scan the code in a minute when I show you what exactly I need your help with. So you would need to help me with a reflection of this session, wherein one thing you still don't understand, one thing I don't understand is something that you really enjoyed and something that was very clear today. So this is like an exit strategy where I know that if I have to take another session, what is it that I have to focus on? What is something that I know my child knows the best? And what is something that is absolutely, I don't even have to touch it again. So this gives me an overview. So I will put the link. Ms. Anshu, would you put the link or should I put it?
You'll be able to put it.
Yeah, perfect. So I would absolutely put the link and And I would like you all to please help me with the feedback. Here. Thank you. I'm getting some on the chat as it is. If you answer these questions, it would help us to understand where we stand, how can we make it better, what else we need to add in it. It could be anonymous, absolutely. You could put your names. And the apps that we're talking about now is something that we need to look and integrate it with our books. That's very important, that these apps don't work individually. They need to be integrated with what we are teaching. So if you have videos, if you have resources, if you have text, you can just take a picture, put it up, integrate it as much as you can with your own resources or your own books that you have. You can integrate. Okay, so let's see if I could. People are still typing. So you could just say 1, 2, 3 and answer the questions. You don't have to write the full sentence. We'll just quickly give it a read through. Okay, while you're all typing, I think you guys were a fantastic audience. I mean, more than I was initially very scared, thinking that, like, because webinars are generally more talking and I absolutely do not like doing that. But this was great because we had so many people participating actively. You were all not the audience like I am. I would just switch off my camera, mic, and I'll be like, okay, I'll listen to a webinar whenever I have to. I enjoy workshops more, that's why. But I see you guys were fantastic. It was great to have you all there. If you finish the Padlet, we finish the workshop, you all have the links to all the apps because we've been using them. You can leave the session if you wish to. Thank you, everyone. It was really a lovely session. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you for being a
Jasmine.
great audience.
If we have any questions from the audience, we are still here.
Yeah, I'm absolutely here till each one of you are here. So if you have any questions, maybe give it a minute. Once everybody's done giving the feedback, then we could start the questions, because then we won't be able to see it.
So one thing is, we do not need an attendance link. This is on record, and we are able to find out and figure out all the participants that are with us till the end. So your certification is approved already. So please do not worry about it. There are a few questions, Jasmine.
Yes.
Yeah. One is like, if you could just identify what is the maximum number of participants in Neopod? So this was one of the questions that came up.
Okay, that I'll have to. I haven't faced any issues with a large number as well, but I have to check that maximum Neopod. But I can get back to you on that.
Sure. And then, can we do it with grades 1 and 2, or is this kind of a structure goes for only the primary?
Whatever resources I've shown you till now, I absolutely take grade 1, and I have worked with grade 1 with these resources, and they work very well with it. Again, you have to explain them. You have to teach them how to use it. We use a lot of technology, but you have to sit down and tell them how it works. And then with time, they would be perfect. They would tell you that you've missed. Like, I don't know if you use Microsoft Teams or Zoom. At one point of time, the children tell you, oh, you know what, there is a new feature there. Check it out. Like, that's how the kids have become now, because they've gotten used to it. So yes, they can use it. All of these apps, I've worked with grade 1s.
Thank you. At one point of time, Jasmine, you talked about the teacher moving in the groups when they are being allotted the hands-on, work with them. Now, as we all know that we are into online structure, you've given us so much of information towards online teaching and making it interesting. But is that kind of an assessment still possible on an online mode?
So there are two ways. One way is how we used to do it is if I have a task, I would divide the time as per the group. So I would create groups and I would say, okay, in a 40-minute lesson, I would give 10 minutes to each group and the rest of the time they would work on their own. So that's one way. If you're using, because I've used Microsoft Teams, if you're using Teams, then you have breakout rooms. I'm not sure if Zoom has that too.
Yes.
If you have breakout rooms, yeah. So breakout rooms work as a group. If you have breakout rooms, you would just break them out into different groups and you can keep shifting and listening to whatever they are talking about. This way you monitor as well as you could keep an eye on them and solve their problems. So that would work.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So there are a lot of applauses, there are a lot of applause for you, and it has been an amazing, 1 hour of looking into so many different tools that you have used. It was as if we are not teachers, we are just students. I think, and everyone would be unanimously, saying that yes, we were like students today, doing
Thank you
quizzes
so much.
and putting in our thoughts. And the best part was that it looked like we are talking to each other, though we never spoke a word.
Yeah, I mean
So
that's very important, I believe.
yeah, so this was the kind of energy which was moving, and it's possible, and we all have to move into these kinds of 21st century skills. And it's all about we moving from that concept of the traditional teaching, because our students are already using these tools in one or the other form. There is gamified assessment already for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I feel this is all for us to actually take this turn, take the flip, and move into the new era.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I would like to answer this question. It says since these apps, based platforms are mostly paid. So what else can we use to flip? So mostly the apps that I've shown you are more or less free. Neopod only gets paid when you have too much on it. You could just make a presentation, delete it, use it, delete it, get the next one. You can save it on your desktop as PDF, so it's absolutely free. Again, Seesaw gets only paid after a point of time when the number of children go ahead. We can always use different email IDs to add that many children. It gets paid when you have to add teachers. There is an option of adding more teachers in it, actually. So that's when it gets paid. When you add more than 3 or 5 teachers, I don't remember exactly. That's when you have an issue of getting it paid. Otherwise, if it gives you a problem, you can just download the student's work, the portfolio, they call it the portfolio. You can download it, delete it, and start it all over again. So there is always a hack around it. Quizzes is absolutely free. Padlet is free. Menti Meter we saw is free. So we haven't really used apps that you have to pay for. Otherwise, if I have to give you paid apps, I can list 10 more right now. That's why we never got into that, because we know how important it is for us to use the apps that are not paid.
Thank you so much. Thank you, because this was a very important question. But even schools now are moving towards paid things if required, because this is how we are going to move into the future, I feel. And so if you are really good with your work and you can show the results, I think the administration will also support you with that, hopefully. So, yeah.
Just grill the apps and the children so much that they have to buy.
Yeah. So I don't see any more questions, Jasmine.
Yeah, you can leave the quiz site. We're not completing the quiz because we ran short of time. So yeah, you can leave the quiz.
Okay, so there is a question that I can see about the screen time. What with the limit of screen time?
See, frankly, right now, that's a challenge with a lot of parents, a lot of teachers. It's not just the screen time for the children, it's our screen time too. So I feel there is a mixed input about this from the parents. Some parents want it. Some parents are okay with it because it's educational, because the children any which ways watch a lot of games or series and things like that. But when it's educational, they don't have a problem. And because of the pandemic, I think they've got pretty used to having school online. So I'm not sure if there is much to complain, and we could have screen sheets, because yeah, I've been doing online forever now, and kids have been doing it. So there is no right or wrong answer that I can help you with. It's a very parent based.
So there's a question from Deepa ma'am. She's is asking, do the kids need to download the apps? So we did an interactive session wherein you were using the apps and you have not downloaded them. So it's a hands-on experience for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll just close by saying a big thank you to you, Jasmine, for all the efforts that you have done.
I think a session is always successful when the participants are there to help. So a big thank you to everybody again.
Yeah. So there's a question here. What is the name of the site for kids which you use in replacement of Google or YouTube?
Kiddle.
Kiddle. If you can type it.
Yes, I would find a link here and put. I will go to Google and search Kiddle.
Okay, so it's KIDDL.
It's a visual search engine for kids. We don't give them Google because it's for adults. So it's kiddle.co. Okay, I'm gonna put it here on the chat.
Yeah, and for any other question, you already, you can always write to us.
Yeah. Did I put it already? So yeah.
Yeah, it's there, kiddle.co. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, and I'm really glad we picked up this particular topic. You've done a great job for us. You've given us, it's a real window, a real eye opener into these tools, and I really hope all the educators here would use them to the max and bring out the best from their kids, even in the online structure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
There is no attendance link. I think you'll have to say that again because everybody has been asking for it.
No, there's no attendance link. Thank you. We will definitely look into a recap session, maybe a kind of, not a recap, but something to put on and add on. Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.